Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Wake Up with YPN. So whether you're on the buying side or selling side, you've probably likely found yourself in a situation with multiple offer situation. So today we have Deanne Rymarowicz from the National Association of REALTORS with us. And Deanne is an associate counsel on NAR and focuses on risk management and law. Today, we will be talking about how to minimize potential risk with dealing with multiple offers. So please feel free to put your questions in the comment box and we will work on getting those answered yet this morning. Good morning, Deanne. All right, correct me on the last name.
You did great, Whitney. That was absolutely perfect. Thank you.
Would you introduce yourself for us this morning?
Absolutely. As Whitney said, my name is Deanne Rymarowicz, and I am associate counsel at NAR in Chicago. I've been with NAR for almost 2 years now, coming up on 2 years. And before that, I was general counsel for the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors in Las Vegas. Had a little bit of a gap to kind of go do my own thing before joining NAR. And NAR was kind of my dream job. And so it was great when the job came up and I got it. And I focus, as Whitney said, on risk management issues. I produce the monthly Window to the Law video. And I work with the insurance program that provides professional liability insurance to all of the realtor associations and MLSs, and come up with risk management resources and tools that brokers and salespersons can use in their day-to-day business.
Wonderful. And you've got a little bit of Iowa in you, right?
I do. So I actually went to Drake for my undergrad and law school. And I spent one summer as a reporter for KWWL, the NBC affiliate in Waterloo. I was stationed in the Cedar Rapids Bureau and came down to Iowa City for several stories over the course of my summer there. But it was a great, I love Iowa. I hope to get back there over the summer for a break when we can travel a little bit more easily.
Yes. Well, we would love to have you back, but I'm sure you're enjoying the big city of Chicago. So that's Absolutely. A fun place to be as well. So, all right, well, let's jump right in. So what are some of the potential risks that can come about in multiple offer situations that agents might not be aware of?
Well, I think some of the risks involve, and this is the situation where a seller is receiving multiple offers from several buyers. So I've heard of 60 offers on a property, 20, 10, even if it's just 3 or 4 offers on a property, it can still pose some issues with both regard to, your duties under the law, as well as your duties under the Realtor Code of Ethics. So some of the things that we see come up are, how timely are you presenting the offers? Remember that you must present offers objectively and let the seller make the decisions. And, I think if we back up to the listing appointment, that's where we can start addressing some of these issues and getting the seller's instruction. I think that's one of the most important things to keep in mind is we kind of have to go back to basics when we're faced with these like new situations. Like I hear so many brokers and salespersons out there saying, we've never seen anything like this. And it's true. And when we haven't seen something, let's remember some of the basics, starting with that very first listing appointment with the seller and talking to the seller about what can come up in this crazy market and getting the seller's instruction. And that means getting it in writing, putting it as an addendum to the listing agreement if you have space for additional terms. Things like, will the seller accept buyer love letters? Talk about, the concerns with those. Does the seller want to see the offers all at once or, as they come in? Get the seller's instruction. Let them know. Chances are good you're going to get more than one offer. And if that happens, how would you like to approach that?
Back to basics, right? We got a foundation. Let's get back to it. So Perfect. Go ahead.
And that also includes, the Realtor Code of Ethics. Yes, your duty to the client is primary, but you still have the obligation to treat all parties honestly. And what does that mean? So in a typical situation, right, you're going to present the offer to your seller, and then the seller can either accept, reject, or counter, right? Those are the kind of basic responses. But in a normal situation, you always get back to the buyer's agent, right? Like, you let them know what happened to their offer. And I think sometimes that can kind of fall by the wayside if you are dealing with 10 or 12 or, 60. I can't imagine having 60 offers on a property. How do you even like manage that logistically? But it is important to follow up, treat all parties honestly, and let the buyer's agent know what happened to their offer.
Yes, definitely. I also wanted to kind of hear about how the listing agents could prepare their clients at a listing appointment. And you kind of touched on that to make sure that we, in a listing appointment, tell them what's going on out there and kind of get that in writing, get that on the listing agreement.
Absolutely.
Any other tips or tricks?
I think, having the buyer love letter conversation, this is something that we're starting to see across the country. And for anyone who's watching who doesn't know, a buyer love letter is, that separate, it could be a letter, it could be a video, it could be photos, where the buyer is saying, I love this house. We can see our family, having picnics in the backyard. Our kids will love the pool, whatever it is. It's close to our church. Trying to personalize, right? They're trying to get that leg up on the other buyers. So they're trying to personalize the experience and make that human connection with the seller, which is all well and good, except what was wrong with a lot of the stuff I just said, right? Like, it's revealing, prohibited bases for discrimination. It's revealing those, protected classes under federal and state law. So the concern is, yes, you may be making a human connection with the seller, but if the seller's choosing you because your kids are the same age as theirs, that as opposed to another family with older kids, or, you go to the same church as opposed to someone who goes to a synagogue, whatever it is, now you're making decisions based on implicit bias. So that's what we want to avoid, because there are, tremendous fair housing concerns when you get into that. So telling the sellers, advising them, here are the concerns, and you could be at risk. I could be at risk. Let's not be at risk. How do you want to address this? And I've actually seen listing agreements where there's a choice in the checkbox. I do or do not want to see buyer love letters. So it's, a conversation to have up front and get that instruction.
Yeah, makes it easy. If it's already on the listing agreement, it's there. You talk about it, you check it. You can't really skip over it. And I've also seen on the flip side, which I'd love to talk about your expertise on how we can educate our buyers, but I have seen, if we just stick with listing real quick on the MLS, where people put, do not submit love letters. So if it is on the listing agreement, your recommendation, would it be to make sure that we transmit that onto the MLS so the buyer's agents understand and know, just don't even do it?
Absolutely. I've also heard that agents are putting that into the agent-to-agent remarks in the MLS. And I think, again, here too, the key is, remember, the seller's making this decision. It is not your decision to make. So maybe say, seller has instructed, seller has instructed will not review buyer love letters. Buyer love letters will therefore not be, transmitted to the seller. So make it clear that the direction's coming from the seller.
Perfect. And then I guess back to that question. So how can buyer's agents prepare their clients, right, in a situation or in this market right now?
Absolutely. So I think having conversations about what makes an attractive offer within the seller's parameters, within the seller's ability to close, and key in on some of those objective factors like price, like contingencies, closing period, financing. Like, make the offer as attractive as you can, and let them know, you may want to, you may feel, again, just that human, desire to make that connection with the seller. But here are some of the pitfalls and downfalls that, if the seller chooses you based on a prohibited, basis. And buyers may not be aware of fair housing law. So I think that's the first education point. As the expert, as the professional, it's incumbent upon you to make that education about fair housing and what the protected classes and prohibited bases are, and let the buyer know, look, you may have heard about this, you may have, and the thing is, it's going to come up at the grocery store, right? Like someone's going to be at Hy-Vee. Do you still have Hy-Vee? Someone's going to overhear, hey, I got that house over on Elm Street, because, they go to the same church as we do. And man, we really lucked out. And someone's going to go, wait a minute, I put in a bid on that house on Elm Street, and it's going to happen. And isn't that the way people always find things out, like from the neighbors, or, they overhear a conversation at the salon or the grocery store or something.
Small world, that's what we always say, right? Small world.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely educate your buyers and focus on ways to make your offer attractive without violating or potentially violating fair housing laws.
Yes. So it really sounds like we just, as realtors, we need to be prepared ourselves, educated ourselves to educate our clients, whether we're on the listing side or the buying side. We need to know our stuff. We need to share that information, and then keep everyone safe and stick to the foundation of what we know, even in these times where it feels just a little bit harder, it's a little bit tighter, things like that. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much. Anything else you wanted to touch on or make sure that you shared today, or did we wrap it all up?
I think we hit a lot of the issues. I do want to point out we have a great implicit bias video on nar.realtor. So you can go over to nar.realtor and just search for implicit bias video. If you haven't watched it, it's only like 53 minutes long. It's an hour well spent. And it just really helps you understand implicit bias and how it impacts you and your clients. And again, being that, providing that value, being the expert and the professional, that's why buyers and sellers are coming to you to help them with this incredibly complex transaction. I mean, look, I'm an attorney and I literally wrote the forms in Las Vegas I literally, worked on the residential purchase agreement. I used an agent who is a realtor when I went to sell my house. I wouldn't even try to do it on my own. So, and educate yourself so that you can educate your buyers and your sellers. And you know what? I think just talk to your broker, get the training, get the education that you can, because these are sort of uncharted waters for a lot of us right now with these crazy multiple offers. And, just do your best, treat everyone honestly, and, best of luck with all of your transactions. I know it's an exciting time to be an agent right now.
It is. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's so great to meet you in person, or kind of in person, I guess. This feels like in person. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you so much for all your expertise.
Thank you, Whitney. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.